Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY!
A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday. That means you've made it halfway through the week. Thanks a lot for being with us, as always, as Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. Just get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com for the best of new and used vehicles, and the Autograph app, where real fans get unreal rewards. Just go to your Apple app or Google Play Store today and download the Autograph app using ISB Media as your code, ISB Media. Let them know where you found them. Appreciate you. How's everybody doing? Plenty to get to today on the program. Dylan Sin will join us from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Looking at some of the comments already. Someone commenting on Juju Lewis trolling IU fans. I'm not sure what that's about. You guys got to be more explanative. You got to explain things. I don't always catch what you guys are talking about, but plenty to get to. Plenty of news for Indiana football fans for sure, as more commitments continue to come in. Not only that, they flip a guy from Cincinnati, 2025 linebacker Paul Nelson, the second player they have flipped in this commitment process. So congratulations to Indiana on their continued recruiting prowess and in showing players that, hey, this may be the place for them to be. So, but we'll talk about the Adidas 3 SSB as it's underway, but the official part does not get underway until tomorrow, I think. These first 2 days are, I forget the actual name of it, but the showcase games. Not real. They don't count. Well, they're real. They just don't count. So they got that going for them, which is nice. Baylor Wilkins, who I mentioned yesterday, was a kid, an offensive lineman from Ohio, who would be announcing his commitment to his decision, which that came, and it went Indiana's way as Indiana fortified their offensive line in the class of 2025 with a solid 3-star offensive lineman out of Findlay, Ohio, the one of the heartbreads or middle spots for football talent in this country. Ohio, one of those states that produces a ton of football talent. Places like Ohio, Texas, Pennsylvania, Florida, lots and lots and lots of talent coming out of there. But this was a pretty good land for Indiana. He said the entire coaching staff was welcoming upon his visit and all the conversations he had in person, via phone, etc. They have top of the line rehab space and doctors and physicians on site. Some of the positive comments that he talked about. He plays for Findlay head coach Stephen Adams as a strong run blocker. So good. Another good recruit added to the piece. 6'4", 275 to start out. So they'll add on to him as he gets here. So Indiana football is just adding multiple pieces. They have had a ton of defensive backs commit. Now you've got offensive linemen, a linebacker. So just doing a tremendous job in recruiting next year already, and they're ahead of the game. So you have to give them credit and what they're getting done, and it's a heck of a job. So congratulations to them on that. And there's a piece on the Hoosier.com right now about Noah Washington as well. He is the surprise recruit coming out of New Albany. He's going to be, I believe, going to be a freshman or a sophomore. But another talent coming out of there that you can read there at the Hoosier.com. And so don't miss that. Indiana flips a commitment in 2025 linebacker Paul Nelson, who was committed to Cincinnati, as Indiana continues their momentum. 6'2", 205-pound offense outside linebacker. Indiana pulls him in, which that's the second player they have flipped here in the last couple of weeks. Previously, getting Indiana in-state kid to rethink his decision from Illinois to Indiana. So it's going along pretty well for Indiana football recruiting. We'll see how that continues to go. It's Indiana's non-conference schedule also out for basketball. You can check that out at the Hoosier.com as well. Plenty of information there, but a lot of it already known. But you've got the battle for Atlantis, in which that could be an exciting and fun time for the Hoosiers. So, and that's to start the season. So we'll see how that goes. But the schedule lays out starting out on November 6th with the Southern Illinois at Edwardsville battle, followed by Eastern Illinois. Then a SEC full South Carolina, followed by UNC Greensboro. Then they travel for the battle for Atlantis. And, of course, that has Davidson, Gonzaga, Louisville, Oklahoma, Providence, West Virginia, and the Hoosiers playing in that tournament down there. So any of you heading down to that vacation, it won't be me. That's a little too expensive for our blood. And then, of course, as Heath pointing out, in the UK series starts next season. John Calipari wanted to make sure that he was going to be far removed from that, at least from the home game that will take place in that 4-game set. 2 games. The first game in Rupp Arena. I think the next game is in Indianapolis, and then it's back to Rupp Arena, and then it comes to Assembly Hall, which Calipari wanted to make sure that he probably was not going to be here. I remember at the time, John, when that first came out, I said that I will guarantee you John Calipari will not be at Kentucky when that game is played.
Yeah, and I'm sure he didn't expect to be out of Lexington this quickly. Obviously, with what went down with Kentucky in the postseason this past March. But yes, you're absolutely right. I don't think he saw himself coming back into Assembly Hall in his future.
I agree with you. I don't think he expected to be gone that soon, but he certainly did everything he could to give himself all the time possible. And the most likely scenario of him still being there would be last if he had to go there, which I did. There was no way in the world I thought he would still be at Kentucky when that rolled around. And he won't be, but who cares? That's a series that just needs to be played, John. I mean, how do you not play that? That would be like Duke and North Carolina not playing. I'm sorry. It's
crazy that it's already been, nearly 12 years since the last Indiana-Kentucky regular season matchup was played. Obviously, they've met in the NCAA tournament, Indiana being the most recent winner when they faced off in the round of 32 back when Tom Crean was still the head coach of Indiana. So, I mean, overall, it's been a long time since Indiana's faced the Wildcats. And I know when 2025 rolls around, fans will definitely be very excited about that.
Absolutely, they will be, and it's going. And actually, it'll come at a time to where it's advantageous for Indiana. because if you want to be honest, it's almost a little bit of luck in the fact that Indiana has not been great over the last decade in totality. They've had some good teams, but I think that series will restart off on equal ground. You've got Kentucky that just went through massive changes. They've got a new head coach, so that's going to change things. You don't know who is going to be in Bloomington for that length of time, projecting out. Could be Mike Woodson still here. Who knows? Right now it will be. I'm pretty sure he'll be coaching at least the first time around through that. But that's a series that just should happen. It's ridiculous that Calipari was allowed to yield that kind of wield that kind of power. And the fact that his athletics director let him do that, what are you going to do? Oh, well, that's that. But a lot of fun things to look forward to. So got that going forward, looking to it. And like I mentioned, the 3SSB tournament is underway down in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Last night and today, showcase games. I have to check in to see how Indiana Elite did last night. That game, they were playing late, like at 6-something, so I did not see the finals on that, but I will pull that score up and see what they did here in the break. But looking forward to talking to Dylan Sin today, and Kyle Neddenriep will get caught up on. Man, it's almost football season. High school football is going to be, we talk about a lot about the college game, but the high school game is going to be here before you know it. I think it'll start just before the college does, as far as the schedule. So got that going for us. And of course, Rick Bozich, always a blast to have on, as we'll talk about a myriad of things. John Boy, how's your day? We made it to the halfway point. How's your week going?
Week's going good. It's always nice to hit the hump, as they say, hump day here on a Wednesday. Trying to shake off the rust this morning. I'm feeling a little more tired than normal, but you know what? And you know what? I'll cut that out for radio. That's on me. I shouldn't have said what time of day it was. But anyways, having a good Wednesday so far, and I hope you are as well.
Why are you feeling tired?
Sometimes you just stay up a little later than you should. And it comes back to bite you in the behind, as they say.
Drags as throughout the day. As the day goes longer, it gets tougher, man.
Yeah.
So he says that Mark Pope just bought a $5 million home down there. So, well, if I had that kind of money, I'd do the same. It's kind of pricey. That is a pricey, but like I said, I'm sure he has a good realtor down there. So you got that going for you. Russell asking, where did Trent Sisley transfer to? Yeah, it's Montverde Academy down outside of Orlando. And he'll be heading there when he finishes up with 3SSB. But actually, don't forget, he's got a visit coming to Indiana in September as well. So he'll be coming back from Montverde after he heads down there to meet his new teammates, etc. Hopefully he'll be coming off of a championship, as they are in Rock Hill, South Carolina right now. And then I mentioned on the Hoosier.com, there is a piece up about Noah Washington, the kid from New Albany, who is receiving rave reviews. He's a youngster. You keep hearing Romeo Langford's name come up in some kind of comparisons, which that's not fair to do. But his name is rolling along. He's in the 2028 class, by the way. But he is making an immediate impact for New Albany. He's already a national name in his class, with some putting him as high as top 10 in the nation. But I again, that a lot of that is just because of talk. Man, can you get talked up? And I'm not saying he's not good at all. That, don't get me wrong, but it is amazing when you can get a national buzz and not gone anywhere and not done anything. That's why things get skewed. And like Indiana football, all right, we talk about Indiana football right now with some excitement, because I truly believe that. But I'm not somebody who gets caught up in the hype. I hope that is agreed with by you guys. But I look, I know what I see, I know what they have, I know the changes that have been made, and I think I know what the possibilities are. Not expectations, but the possibilities. And these are realistic possibilities in my mind. So I don't think that's hype. I don't think that's getting caught up. Like I said, I don't expect Indiana to go out and win the Big Ten or anything crazy like that. But I think that they have great opportunities. Washington probably going to have great opportunities, but I'm not going to build him up as to something that he's not just yet. It wouldn't be fair to him. But definitely someone we're following, and a great piece on him by Patrick Woolley, the recruiting analyst at the Hoosier.com. We got lots more coming up. Dylan Sin from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette will join us, along with Kyle Neddenriep later, and Rick Bozich too. Back with all that and more. Brought to you by the Autograph app, where real fans get unreal rewards. Just go to your Apple or Google Play Store today. Download the Autograph app with ISB Media as your code. And we're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
I hate that I said morning. Jesus.
That's all right. It's an easy thing to do. And
I know, especially when you're talking about what's going on right now.
Heath, that is like funny crap, because that is someone who I have blocked from my Twitter account, so I don't ever see what they're doing. And
oh yeah,
I people like that I just can't stomach, and I just delete them. So
I'm gonna go grab my coffee. I'll be right back.
Me too. Helps if I take my coffee cup.
Freshen it up a bit.
Where, oh, where is Mr. Sin? I'll shoot him a message. Make sure he's able to come on today. All right, I'm going to pull us back in. I sent him a message. Usually he lets me know if he's not going to be here, so maybe he's just having a bit of a delay. So we'll see.
Everything you need to make a gourmet meal at home, or pick out a tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection. and Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. We've reached the halfway point and temperatures down as the weather a little rainy in this part of the state at least, and it's supposed to continue today. Mid temperatures in the lower to mid 80s, so can't complain about that for July, man. I'm telling you, it's been crazy. It was an excellent spring.
I don't know if you looked ahead, Jimbo, but next week it's back. It's back. The 90s, the mid to upper 90s are coming.
I have not, and probably could have done without that information, Johnny. But
I know it's a little disappointing, unfortunately. But hey, I'm going to enjoy today. I'm going to enjoy tomorrow, and then
that's all a guy can do. That's all a guy can do is enjoy today, John. Enjoy today. Hey, is Dylan in Scotland for his? That is, I'm glad our listeners pay attention, because
I do remember Dylan mentioning his honeymoon, but for some reason I thought he already went on it. I could be wrong. Maybe he didn't go on it yet.
Yeah, I'm confused as well. I can't recall,
but yeah, that would answer. I mean, if he is in Scotland, that would make 100% sense on why he's not, responding to anything, and he usually does.
Forrest pointing out that he thought that he said he was going to Scotland, which is a very cool place to go. I mean, there are so many incredible places to think about going as far as travel within reason today of not being crazy and going to some place that's dangerous. But Scotland's not one of those places you think of as being dangerous, which is not. So that would be cool. I would go to Ireland. I've never been there, which is not too far away. But yeah, that just going to a place like that is just amazing because they're so different and old. I'm talking old, man. So they got that going for them, which is nice. And apparently, well, I hope that he brings us back a T-shirt, right? At the very least. That's what I always, if someone says, I was like, hey, bring me a T-shirt. Tell my daughter she's going someplace. Hey, bring me a T-shirt. She did bring me a T-shirt from Innsbruck, Austria. So that's the only T-shirt I think she's ever got me. So we got that going for us, which is cool. Later on today, Kyle Neddenriep will be joining us from the Indy Star. And like I said, high school football right around the corner, man. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, I caught it was on replay, but the Indy race over the weekend was in Ohio, I think. But it is the first time that I can recall a race starting under caution, and not for weather. There was a wreck or something on the opening lap, and so they ended up having to start. Oh no, Scott Dixon's car. He had an issue. Didn't even get didn't even make it through the warm-up lap to start the race. But this was a hybrid. These engines were hybrid engines for the first time. And so he didn't even make it. But Padua Ward gets a big win. So cool to stay up with those names beyond the Indy 500. These are the same guys that race in the Indy 500. And so it's kind of cool to stay up with that. And then, of course, NASCAR. And mention that because we are 2 weeks away from NASCAR coming to Indianapolis, to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and they are back on the oval this year. And they had been on to the road course. They had tire problems. They just had issues because the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is not built for NASCAR racing. The degree of banking in the turns is 9 degrees. That's just barely above flat. Indy cars don't need the grip as much because they have so much downforce keeping them down. But the NASCARs are not quite that tethered to the ground. But they're going back to the oval this year, and Chase Briscoe, lot of talking points around him. Chase Briscoe, of course, from Mitchell, Indiana, right down the road from the studios here, who will be moving over to, was it Joe Gibbs Racing next year? Which means he's going from a Ford to a Toyota. That did not make the great-grandson of Henry Ford happy, who saw Briscoe doing a promo wearing a Toyota shirt on Twitter, and he sent something out about that, ironically. But some more news I learned from my friend Rusty Jones is that the Friday night prior to the Friday night of race weekend in Indianapolis, which that is the weekend of the 26th, 27th, I believe, at Indy, Chase Briscoe will be racing at the Bloomington Motor Speedway at their dirt track. So that's going to be cool. And so we'll be down there talking to Chase and his family. And he ran on that track when he was younger. So very cool to see things like that. Does he bring some other guys with him? Who knows? Because those guys love to race. And if there's a race, that's why you always hear about daggone it. Number 5 car. I can't think of his Kyle Larson. He's always racing someplace. It used to be one of the other guys, but Kyle Busch used to race in the Truck, Xfinity, and NASCAR series just because. Kyle Larson is now that guy, always racing somewhere. On a Wednesday night, he'll be off at some state track that's heading towards where they're going to be racing that weekend. So you're more than likely going to see him or a couple of guys at some other tracks in Indiana that weekend and the week of that race. But Chase Briscoe will be at Bloomington. So if you need any more reason to go out to their speedway for that, which I can hear the cars running at Bloomington Motor Speedway when they run. It travels, but I will be at the speedway for that in Bloomington and looking forward to that. So we'll see what we can get. We've had Chase Briscoe on the show before. It's been a while, but with him changing teams, we'll see if we can get him back on now. So that'll be fun as well. So looking forward to that and to seeing him but to seeing him and seeing those guys in that kind of environment to where it's just a down home type environment. It's where they came from. They all started at avenues like that. So that's going to be pretty cool to see. How about baseball? My Cincinnati Reds, they are continuing to roll. First of all, they swept the New York Yankees. I know that was a week or so ago, but got to mention it again. They swept the Yankees. The Yankees were like 20 games above 500, and the Reds were swimming a couple of games below 500, to my knowledge, at the time. But they're trying to make a move as right now they are mired in 4th place in the Central Division, 9 games out of first. This team is 4 games under 500 still. Fortunately, they play in the National League Central and the National League, which is not the strongest, so they still have a shot at trying to fight for a playoff spot. But the Cardinals are rebounding quite well for Cardinal fans. They're in second place in the National League Central, only 4 games back of the Brewers, but they're 4 games over 500 at 48 and 42. The Pirates, 3 games under, and then the Cubs they're down there with the Reds, but the Pirates, Reds, and Cubs all kind of right there together, all within a game and a half. But the Reds have been making noise with their youngsters. First of all, you got Eli De La Cruz, who continues to do Eli De La Cruz stuff. Like I said, he hits a home run, what turned out to be the winning home run at Yankee Stadium in his first game. Then now you've got other guys who are doing magical work. Let's see. Who was the guy that I talked about the other day for the Reds? Reese Hines, rookie. He made his debut and he crushes a 450-foot home run in Cincinnati to like the second deck. Well, he didn't stop. He continued in his second game. He hit another crushing 458-foot shot as the Reds cruise to a 12-6 win over the Colorado Rockies. It would sound like the Reds are just kicking butt, but as I just mentioned, they're mired back. Just early season trolling has just not gotten them very far. But the 23-year-old Hines, who was just promoted Monday from AAA Louisville right down the road, he has hit 2 400-foot shots in his first 2 major league games. It's crazy, but it shows the youth that Cincinnati has if they're able to hold on to those guys. Hines, De La Cruz, but you've got to have the pitching to go with it. Here's what happens, though, to teams like this. They find this young talent, they get them going, and then they just stink as a team, though, and have to end up losing them. I mean, how much of a contract is Eli De La Cruz going to command when his comeback or his contract ends? So you got that going for you. Anybody watching the NBA Summer League? I know that the Grizzlies played last night, but I don't think that Zach Edey played because I thought I saw him signing autographs in a sweatshirt, although he played the night before. So I'm not sure why he didn't play.
One thing about Zach Edey, I don't know if you've seen this, Jim, but I believe right now he is the betting favorite to be Rookie of the Year next NBA season.
Really? I did not.
I know,
see
it's
that.
a little surprising, isn't it?
It is. Yes, it is, because you've got all of those French guys that all the guys that were taken in the draft before him, Reed Shepherd. Yes.
I think what it is, though, the one thing that kind of justifies it at least a little bit is you know what you're getting with Zach Edey. And the biggest factor with him is his game going to translate? And if it does, you've got a well-polished player, someone who's very efficient at what he does. And that's really what it's going to come down to for him. It's either going to work well or it's not going to work at all. And I think that's why a lot of people have him kind of tabbed as one of the favorites to be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I just offensively, I don't think that he's going to struggle that much because he's just so strong and powerful. It's defensively. It's the quickness of being able to keep up with guys that are going to be on the move. So that's why. But if he does enough offensively, maybe it's overlooked. I don't know. But yeah, that surprises me a little bit. I know Memphis has said that they expect him to be a starter. We'll see. That
and on the other hand, I mean, it was kind of seen as one of the weaker drafts in the last several years, maybe ever. Some people have said they think this is one of the worst NBA drafts of all time. Obviously, there's no way to know that until you see how these players pan out in the league. But if the draft is full of a bunch of duds, then it's, really picking any of them to be rookie of the year isn't that far out of left field when you really think about it.
Yeah, I agree. There are absolutely. So we'll look forward to that. Now, along the way, we'll have more and more basketball players suing the NCAA over their use of March Madness video promos, which this is starting to become aggravating. It's like any tiny little thing. I'm like, man, this is starting to step over the line to me that of ridiculousness. But 16 former men's college players, including Kansas stars Mariel Chalmers and Sharon Collins, from UConn guard Ryan Boatwright, Arizona guard Jason Terry, have all sued the NCAA in multiple conferences for the unauthorized use of their name, image, and likeness in March Madness highlights. I don't know. I think that you knew the games were on TV. You agreed to perform. You received a scholarship. Your meals were paid. Everything was paid for. So I just don't see I'm not an attorney, but I'm like, I don't see a case there. And do you think the NCAA really benefited from your particular video, or they could not have found something else? They could have, but that's the world we live in, unfortunately. But we've got to take a break. More coming up here on the program. Later on, Kyle Neddenriep will join us from the Indy Star, Rick Bozich as well, and plenty to talk about. Back with all of that, brought to you by the Rusty Gator down in Bloomington. Rusty Gator Live, because they've got a ton of music coming up, but not just that. It's where oceanic flavors meet Southern charm. Nestled in the heart of Bedford, their seafood restaurant is a haven for those who crave the freshest catches of the sea and a laid-back and inviting atmosphere. What sets them apart? Their reputation precedes them, and they're proud to be known for an array of signature dishes that have become favorites among locals and visitors alike. From the succulent shrimp to crispy fries, and their menu boasts a mouthwatering selection, including fish sandwiches, fried catfish, shrimp, and grits, and a variety of other coastal classics. Also, a large music venue there, John Boy. If you can flip up the schedule coming up, they have a lot of tribute bands that'll be happening. Taylor Swift, Bon Jovi, Gran Torino, which I do not know who, if that is a tribute band, and who for, if not. No Fences, of course, Garth Brooks. Back to back, you've got Billy Joel and Elton John, and Thunderstruck, which they're big time. They've been all over, the AC/DC tribute band, and don't think I'm going to miss that, baby. Looking forward to it. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a
I can't think of what Gran Torino would be. I was trying to figure it out, but maybe they're just their own band.
It could maybe be Latino.
I'm going to pull that poster back up. I'm curious.
Well, I'm gonna look at
They don't look very Latino, but I guess they could be. The guy in I won't say what I'm thinking. Because it could be seen as an insult, and that wouldn't be nice. But yeah, they don't look Latino. I'll say that much.
Let's see. I don't think this is the same one. This one's from Italy. Is it Gran or Grand?
Gran, Gran. You see, I thought the Clint Eastwood thing too, Philip. That's whenever I was looking something up.
Well, me too, but that doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't really
That would make them Mungs.
Gran Torino. Maybe they're just their own band. Maybe I can just find. Let me see if they're on. I'm surely they're on Spotify or something. Gotta be careful. I don't want my music to start playing.
Nose.
Gran Torino.
Yeah, I don't.
Let's give them a free plug to this to Gran Torino.
Man, my nose is blown. But I will be. I can't wait for a Thunderstruck. I've heard of them. They've been around, bro. With Thunderstruck.
If the band I'm looking at right now on Spotify is the same band that's going to be in Bloomington,
they're Italian.
They're from no, not that. They're from Knoxville. They're funk rock, and they're from.
Ooh.
Oh, this looks like more people than on that poster, so it might not be them. So, oh well.
But that sounds fun if it is.
I like some funk rock.
Who does it?
Exactly.
Bow, 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 bow. Hell yeah!
All right, here we go.
Payment free for 90 days or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMoreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. I hope you are having a good start to the week. And if not, hopefully we're heading it to you. Gritty says Gran Torino is a classic rock tribute. So there we go. That thank you very much. We were talking about the Ugly Group, the Rusty Gator in Bedford. Is having just a ton of live music throughout the summer. Gran Torino is one of those bands that will be in there. A lot of tribute bands, and they are a classic rock tribute band, which that'll be cool. They may play a litany of things, in addition to some of the other artists that we've seen that will be tributed. Garth Brooks, Billy Joel, Elton John, Say They Say. You know what? There should be one called the Feagles. John, how about that?
I'm not. See, that's something I'm not. It's not
fake,
clicking with me.
that would stand for fake
Eagles.
Eagles.
Fake Eagles.
Eagles.
I like that.
Woo!
That's not bad at all. That's not bad.
I'm proud of myself. That's quick. The Feagles. Had a chance to see the Eagles once, man. Daggone it. They opened up the Yum Center in Louisville.
I was going to say that. They were the first live music act to play in the KFC Yum Center.
And Kylie was very young then, and we were at the zoo. I'd taken her to the zoo, which I did a lot. And I remember getting a text or a call from a couple of friends of mine, and they said, "Hey, we've got 2 tickets to the Eagles tonight, extra tickets." And I'm like, she was just, I probably should have just taken her. In retrospect and hindsight, if I had to do it over again, I would have just taken her, because that's a band that was cool enough that it's not like going to AC/DC. That would have been
They're a little more accessible for a young child.
they have music that's some calmer songs.
Hotel California is universally known.
Well, and it's just not hard rock the whole time.
Yeah, it's more soft rock, really.
Yeah, and I don't like even AC/DC. I don't consider hard rock, but it is banging. So
it's just not metal.
Yeah,
AC/DC is very formulaic, and I don't mean that as an insult. It's just typical hard rock.
Very, very good way of putting it, John. I'm not a big metal fan. I'll be honest with you. I do like Van Halen and AC/DC, all the great classics.
Where do you draw the line? What's the heaviest band you listen to?
There's probably a couple of songs from like bands like Poison or Metallica.
Yeah.
But overall, I would not consider myself like a big fan of their music.
Yeah.
And there's other bands along that line. Nothing's wrong with it.
Did you ever see Black Sabbath before they retired? And I know we're veering way off from sports, but I'll let you.
I did.
Get back
I
on the
did
rails.
not. I just knew about, like everyone else when I was in high school, just knew about Ozzy biting the head off the bat, which that was all the talk. That was all the talk. That was the talk, man. He bit the head off of a bat, man. He's got rabies. So had that going for him, which was nice. I'm trying to pull up the schedule from yesterday's games. What was yesterday, by the way?
The date, the 9th?
Yeah. And that's of July. So that's the spring series. But yeah, I haven't quite gotten to my schedule pulled up. Trying to find the score for the games last night, that these showcase games that were going on. Actually, I can't remember where I put it on my phone. I've already pulled it up. Here we go. There's the schedule. But because I know that Indiana Elite played. Trying to think who they played. They played late in the day yesterday, which would have made that Tuesday. And so I can just quickly go down to the 6 p.m. games. And there is Indiana Elite. They lost 70-61 to Phenom United. Now, these games don't count, but that would be the first 3 SSB game that they have lost this season. So is that a harbinger of things to come? There's been a big gap of them playing, of games. They haven't been together. I think you heard Mike Fox yesterday when he was on with us, their coach, talk about they practiced together this past Saturday. But before that, they've been alone, separate. There's been the All-Star games. There has been all kinds of things going on, guys doing different things over the course of the summer. So will that have a bearing, or will this galvanize that Indiana Elite team, as that is their first loss, which nothing is surprising at this level because obviously they're playing at a high level with these guys. So
Coach Fox may blame you, Jim, after bringing up the undefeated record a couple of times yesterday.
Well, you know what? You can't run.
That's true.
From the truth, and it is what it is. It's not like I'm the only person that sees that big goose egg in the last column, in the loss column. So, but I'm curious to see how that went down. And boy, I'm having to go through all kinds of stupid things here, and I'm going to have to skip that. But curious as to see who did what yesterday, and. But and there were plenty of other games that went on all day long. So who's going to be? And they were second rated, by the way. Per the article that's in the Hoosier.com by the recruiting analyst Patrick Woolley, he talks about this tournament and that Indiana, although undefeated, were the second ranked team in there. Number 2 overall in the country, FYI. Of course, they have Braylon Mullins, Greenfield Central, Malachi Moreno from Great Crossing, Kentucky, Trent Sisley, now of Montverde Academy, formerly of Heritage Hills. In addition to Mark Zachary, who's going to Notre Dame to play football and basketball, as we exclusively heard yesterday. We didn't mention that, John. That's the first time I've heard that mentioned for sure, that he will be walking on to the Notre Dame basketball program.
That's right. He did mention that, and that'll be interesting.
But I had said that over and over. Not trying to pat myself on the back, but I had said that over and over, that I'm going to be shocked if he does not end up playing for Micah Shrewsbury. up there because he's just that good. He's that important. He's quick. He's a point guard that makes things happen. And you heard Mike talk about it for his team, how much of a difference he's made for their Indiana elite team. And this is a guy who is going on to play scholarship football at Notre Dame.
And it'll essentially be a bonus scholarship player unofficially.
For free.
Obviously, considering he will be a walk-on, but it'll be somebody who can contribute likely in some way. Now, I know he's primarily going to Notre Dame for football, but that doesn't mean
he will
that
not
can't
be considered your typical walk-on.
Yes.
You're
this
right.
is somebody who, if something ever happened to him football-wise, he could pick up a career in basketball.
Well, it's like having 14 scholarship players as opposed to 13.
And speaking of that real quick, with Indiana specifically, I guess it's for sure they're not going to fill the 13th scholarship again this year. It's going to be 12.
I would never say never, but I think that you are correct. I do not see any additions coming. First of all, I don't see the room playing time wise. Hell, I don't see the room playing time wise with what they currently have. There is no way you can split those minutes equally.
I think the way that it would truly become another issue again this year is if you had the injury bug bite Indiana once again, because you went into last season and you knew ahead of time that Ja'Kai Newton wasn't going to be able to contribute. So right off the bat, you were without 2 scholarship players. And with any subsequent injuries at that point, you were down 3, sometimes 4. And maybe Indiana gets lucky this time around and they don't have to, deal with injuries as much. But hey, I think that's the one reason it's important to fill out all 13 scholarships, just to have the body. But also in this day and age with NIL and the transfer portal, it's probably just a lot harder to find guys who are willing to be that 13th guy on the bench if everybody's healthy.
Yeah, well, that's one thing Indiana has this year that we thought that they had in the last year or two that they actually did not, and that is depth. Depth at virtually every position, like I've talked about, with the exception of the big man. And that is kind of unique because they have Umar Ballo at the 5, but his backup is not an Umar Ballo type at all. Lance Hatton, not at all similar. They're very different players. So his backup is a completely different type of backup. Ballo is a paint guy. He's not leaving the paint. He's not going to be out on the perimeter. Where Hatton can do both, but he is not close to the dominant post player that Ballo is, but he can do things that Ballo can't. Renew, you could put him in at the 5 if you had to. So I guess you have that, but he's going to be playing the 4. But then you've got the 3 spot loaded. You can go with Mbako. You can go with Tucker. You can go with Luke Goody. And then, of course, the guards this year, they have double the guards that are productive guards that they had last year with Rice and Carlisle coming in. 2 new guys right there. You've got Gabe Cupps, who I expect is going to be a lot better. He has been working extraordinarily hard. He's going to have to if he's going to see the court. Because last year, Mike Woodson needed him regardless of not having much production. Very little to no offensive production. He can't do that this year. So we'll see how that goes. And then, of course, Trey Galloway as well, sitting there, and Ja'Kai Newton. So they got plenty to look at. Plenty coming up as well, as Kyle Neddenriep will join us on the program next from the Indy Star. Back with more, brought to you by Freethink. Whether you need 24 T-shirts for your upcoming family reunion or 200 for this season's recreational softball league or your company uniforms, whatever the case may be, Freethink Apparel meets your printing needs. Their team of industry experts work with you to design a professional-looking, sales-generating web store for your custom-designed apparel and promotional merchandise. Your very own site where people can go to. From large corporations to small businesses, high school sports teams, national accounts, Freethink Apparel delivers. Doesn't matter where you are in this country or out. Freethink Apparel, just go to freethinkapparel.com today and get printing back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market. Man, my nose is itching.
I'm like, I don't know, we're ready for him. Heck, is it senior skip day? Is everybody just gone?
That's funny. Dude, my senior skip day was incredible. We went through, it was either 14 or 16 kegs of beer, I remember. We sold tickets to skip day. I'm not kidding. It wasn't my idea. I can't take credit, but it was something.
All right, I'll let Kyle know we're ready for him just in case he didn't see anything. So we're back in a few seconds.
We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Rebesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us along for the ride. I hope this midway point has been a good one for you. The 3SSB Adidas Championship kind of underway over last night down in Rock Hill, South Carolina. They have 2 days of what they call showcase games, which are basically practice games. I don't think they count against the record. So while Indiana Elite, I should say, who went into this undefeated, actually took their first L last night, and which was probably not that surprising. You're coming off of a long layoff. First of all, you've got a target on your back. This is their first time back together in quite some time. Braylon Mullins, like I said, Malachi Moreno, Trent Sisley, Mark Zachary, Des Bryant, a lot of names on this team for Indiana that normally has been playing and winning big. They had a little trouble with their matchup against Flash Elite. They earned a 75-39 win a while back. I mean, that was unbelievable. But Trey Singleton from Jeffersonville, he is a 6'8" senior. He is playing extraordinarily well. Kyle Neddenriep joining us now. Kyle, I was just talking about the 3SSB tournament that has just gotten it's underway, but not officially underway just yet, as the first 2 days are called showcase games. Indiana Elite, although, takes their first loss on the season last night unofficially.
I wasn't aware. They got beat, huh?
Yeah, 70-61. But, you know, this is a team that hasn't been together for a while now because of the All-Star break. There's just been so many things that keep these guys apart. But getting back together, they played their first game yesterday in quite some time. But let's see, Braylon Mullins led Indiana Elite in scoring with 16, but he was only 3 of 12 from behind the arc. Trent Sisley had 12 points and 9 rebounds. Malachi Moreno only 8 points, 11 rebounds. They had 20 team turnovers, so that shows a little rust on their part. And a technical foul called on Des Briscoe in that game. So that and the team they played shot 20 free throws. So they were able to pick up the win, but they're still in a great position as this thing doesn't start for another day yet because they have another showcase game today. That's hopefully will only just fire them up and upset them, because we had Mike Fox on with us yesterday, and you know he's had some great teams, but which I know, you know, and I asked him, but he said this may be the best team he has ever had.
Yeah, I mean, they've got about everything, you know, Mullins, Sisley, obviously wings who can shoot it and score. And then, you know, you add Mark Zachary as the point guard to, you know, to a team that's already really good. And then you got size, obviously, with Moreno that a lot of teams don't, you know, probably a lot of Indiana teams have not had with him. So, yeah, you got, I mean, we've talked about this group a lot. They're obviously got everything. So I'd assume they're going to do really well this weekend and the rest of July, most likely.
Also, Indiana Elite Team Tradition is playing down there, and I'm not sure if that's probably the 16U team, but Trey Singleton of Jeffersonville, a member of that team, a 6'8" senior. Well, if he's a senior,
that's their secondary team that is really good too. I think Singleton and Douglas and Cooper, all from Jeffersonville, are in that group, and then they've got some other good players. I want to say Millen McCartney from Fishers. He's a really good shooter. Has been playing well lately. Bryson Cardinal from Guerin Catholic. Braden Totten from HSE. So, yeah, that's, you know, whatever secondary team that is, they're a really good team as well.
And I mean, Indiana Elite has multiple teams in this. They do have a 2026 team down there as well. Some names that are on that people will probably hear later on. Jacob Spurlock, actually, he's from Boyd County, Kentucky. And it's amazing that Indiana Elite has gotten so strong that they get guys like Spurlock, like Malachi Moreno, that want to be a part of what's going on with that program, which Mike Fox and Mark Adams do a tremendous job with those teams.
Yeah, I mean, they always obviously have been doing it for a long time. So, yeah, kind of the idea is to obviously you want to win games, but also give these guys a chance to play in front of a lot of college coaches, which they'll have a chance to do throughout the rest of the month.
Yeah, and this is kind of it for basketball, for high school basketball, until we get to the season, because high school football right around the corner. So this is kind of the last hurrah as they'll get out of July, and they'll go through August, and then boom, September comes, and these guys on this 2025 team are all going on official visits as they will, do the things that they need to do to make their final decisions. People like Malachi Moreno and Trent Sisley and Braylon Mullins, all highly sought after by the D1 major D1 programs. Of course, Sisley and Mullins both being sought after by Indiana heavily. Purdue getting involved with Braylon Mullins very late. So, and with them only having one scholarship possibility at this moment, that's kind of a weird thing for them they're actually recruiting Mullins against Sisley right now.
I guess technically, yeah, but I like we say a lot. I mean, it's those numbers aren't really, they are what they are for right now. They're not necessarily what they're going to be, but yeah, it's for these guys, it's kind of a last chance. I mean, just from the fun of playing high school basketball, a lot of these guys have been playing AAU for forever. So this is kind of a last chance for them to get together and play as a team. And, it's stuff they'll look back on, I'm sure, and fondly. And I know we're all looking at it from, college perspective and only care about that. But for these kids, it's kind of their time to, be together and play together and have some more fun on the court together and off the court. So for this, it goes so fast. I know that for sure. And, so a chance for these guys to do that one more time. And then you'll have some of these top guys won't play in fall leagues and whatnot, but there are some fall leagues before high school basketball gets started. I know I'll be out watching some of that too, but yeah, for a lot of these guys, it's kind of a last chance to play before high school. And then, like you said, you're taking your official visits. I know a lot of these guys have them already set up, and probably some decisions will be made for some of these guys, even, as we get to the end of July into August. I would assume there'll be some decisions made pretty quickly after July is over with.
Well, here's a semi-exclusive for you. Yesterday, when Mike Fox was with us, he acknowledged something that I fully expected to have happened, but had no confirmation of that. And that is Mark Zachary will be playing basketball at Notre Dame for Micah Shrewsbury.
You could have read that in Indy Star a long time ago, Jim. Come on.
Oh, man, I didn't see that. I didn't know it was out officially. Daggone it. I always read your stuff, but I didn't know that had officially been released. When did he say that then?
When I talked to him about committing to Notre Dame, he said that was the plan. Obviously, nothing's official, I guess, until you actually do it. But that's the idea. He'd been talking to Micah about it, and when he committed to Notre Dame, that was sort of part of the conversation. And like Mark said, hey man, it's going to be hard to do football, let alone try to do both. But that is the plan for him to go there and play basketball too.
And that would have been, like I've said, I would have been shocked for that not to happen. There's no way you have a talent like that and don't use it. It's a minute ago I was told John, that's like having an extra scholarship player, because this dude will produce. He will see time on the floor for Notre Dame.
Yeah, he's so good defensively. That's the thing. His it's always, football conditioning is different than basketball. Your cardio and stuff like that, it takes a little while for that to, that'll be a little bit of and the skill work of, dribbling, shooting, those types of things. But, I think that things he brings to the table defensively will translate immediately, beyond those other things that he'll have to sort of do that stuff on the side, I would think, if he plans on playing basketball. So, but defensively, quickness, he's so, those things will translate. He's an ACC, Big Ten, type of player, as he could play in those. He could have been taken as a basketball player, at a pretty high level. Well, obviously, because he's going to play at Notre Dame, but yeah, those things he does. There's a lot of things he does that are things that are sort of physical, that he's just really good physically. But then also, I thought really the second half of last year he turned into a real point guard. The year before he was more of kind of a off the ball, because Sheridan Sharp was a point guard and he was off the ball a little bit more, handled it some, but mostly was kind of off the ball type of guy. And then this past year, I thought he really kind of embraced that point guard role and did it to a very high level. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that all works out. We don't see that. We used to see it, I think, a little bit more where football players would come in after their season was over and kind of fill out the roster and play some. And but we haven't, to my knowledge, haven't seen that a whole lot in recent years.
Yeah, it's changing a little bit, not like it used to be. And, you kind of miss seeing that some because these guys are tremendous athletes. And it's always fun to see those guys that can blend those talents like that. And those are always very, very special athletes. Speaking of the devil, or not the devil, but a devil, is for Tyler Cherry's brother now getting a lot of interest. He just received a scholarship offer from Indiana, was their first offer. And he's on the other side of the ball playing defense, but another Cherry coming out of Center Grove High School there.
Yeah, he's going to be a good one. He's a 3-sport guy, basketball, baseball, and football, and didn't play basketball last year, but he has continued to play football and baseball. So not sure which direction that will go necessarily, but yeah, he's built a little different. He's I would say more sturdy than Tyler does. Tyler's just more skinny quarterback type.
He's a quarterback, man. He's a quarterback.
Kobe's a little bit bigger, solidly built type of guy. He even, as a freshman, even you could see that for sure. So, but yeah, I know he's got. I think Washington had offered him. He's got some high level offers already.
Louisville as well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll see how this season goes for him with Center Grove, and and how he kind of juggles the multi-sport part of it. I hope he does keep doing at least both those two sports. But yeah, it'll be fun to see what his future looks like. And obviously Center Grove in the in the recent history has done a great job producing college talent. So we'll see. Who knows how with Tyler being at IU, that may help their chances to get him down there too. So it'll be a battle though, I think. And I don't think he'll make a commitment anytime soon, but you got to think that would help slightly.
Yeah. Not counting Notre Dame because they're kind of in their own deal, of course, but Purdue seems to still be winning the recruiting battle between Indiana and Purdue in the state right now. While I think that's going to change, and whether it just gets equalized or Indiana can move ahead or behind depending on the success factor. But right now, it looks like Purdue still has, I hate to use the word command, because they're not landing the big guys either. The guys that say Notre Dame or Ohio State or whomever will get. Or LSU for that matter, as we just saw the kid from Warren Central going to LSU. But when it comes to the two, Indiana and Purdue still winning the recruiting battle, it seems, a tick. Do you see that as still being the case, or has there been an equaling out?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's not a blowout, I would say, but they are getting. It seems like the guys they're going after. I was looking at that actually the other day, and Purdue was really close to getting John Anthony Hall from Fishers, and I thought that was going to happen for Purdue, and that would have really been kind of a cherry on top of a really good class, in-state guys that they have coming in. And you never count anything out anymore, especially with the portal being what it is. And you kind of, want to keep those things on good terms, so who knows how that all works out in the long run. But John Anthony Hall ended up committing to Stanford after he visited out there. He visited all four. He visited IU and Notre Dame too. And it definitely came down to Purdue and Stanford, and Stanford was able to get him. So I really thought that would have been a huge get for Purdue, because I think he's much like Mark Zachary in the fact that he can play. He's a multi-sport guy. He's a second in the state in the long jump. He's a state champion in basketball. Had 23 points in the state champion. So he's just that type of athlete. But but yeah, I mean, to your point, I think Purdue has probably won the majority of those battles. Although I don't, like I said, I don't think it's a huge landslide or anything like that. And they haven't gotten those really super high level. And honestly, I thought Notre Dame with Shanklin, I thought, months ago that they were going to get Shanklin as well. LSU ends up coming in, and Notre Dame wasn't in the final group for him. Actually, it was Ohio State and Alabama and LSU gets him. So that was kind of a rarity too. We don't see LSU coming in here very much in recruiting. So that was interesting. But yeah, I mean, obviously Zachary going to Notre Dame is a huge one, and Shanklin going out of state's a big one. Ohio State was involved, so at that point you kind of think he's not going to in-state school. But yeah, I mean, Purdue is definitely, you go down the list of recruits, and Purdue has definitely done well, and that I'll be interested to see how that changes with Signetti and the coaching staff there. They definitely have a lot of they're definitely in on a lot of guys, I know, and recruiting the state hard. So, that we'll see how that changes, if it does at all. And I think Purdue's doing a really good job right now, recruiting the state too.
Yeah, next week we'll talk about what these programs have to do to change the fact that you had a piece out this week, and looking at the top 10 recruits, 9 of them are going to programs out of state. That's huge for these programs. They've got to start landing the bigger players. Shanklin going to LSU. He'll be playing for Kevin Peoples, the former defensive line coach at Indiana. So some familiarity there, Kyle.
Yeah, and normally you see that with staffs who are like, oh, why are they here? And there's some sort of connection, or they have a tie to the state, or something there along the way. There's normally some sort of tie there, and yeah, but yeah, you put LSU just. I went back and looked. I mean, I think it had been, there's been a few transfers here and there, but I think it had been since the early 90s that they had an in-state player commit, and that was even a Purdue transfer who went JUCO route and then ended up in a class there, a Broad Ripple player. So yeah, it's been a long time since LSU's come in. You don't see that school come in here that often. So it's interesting, and obviously Damian Shanklin's projects very highly in the future. Defensive ends like him, those are maybe the rarest species of all. So they're going to be highly recruited for sure.
Absolutely. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Make sure you're giving him a follow and keeping up with all the content he is providing, and that's because that'll teach you what's going on in the state with high school athletics. Kyle, thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you.
You bet. Thanks, Jim.
You bet. Boost Fundraiser bringing you Kyle Neddenriep. If you know a team or a group needing a fundraiser, Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the country. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member, free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, community groups, whatever you need, just go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COIL to receive a discounted fundraiser. Up next, the great Rick Bozich from WDRB.com joins us. Back with that and more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Formerly Good day, sir.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm just putting stuff together. Do you remember Dennis Lampley at Trinity?
Yeah, the coach, longtime coach.
Yeah, he died today.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that. I know that you knew him for a long time. Man, he had been retired for over a decade, right? Maybe longer.
Yeah, he's had Alzheimer's the last couple of years, so. But he was really tight with Brom. Brom's going to do a press conference this afternoon to talk about him.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, how long did he coach at Trinity?
He was
Probably
the coach when I got here in the late 70s. So I think he coached once for like a decade, and then he
came back.
He quit for a few years, and then he came back, and then he was the AD. I think he was the coach there for 24, 25 years total. He's the one that made Trinity the force that is. I mean, Beatty took it to the next level, but Trinity, he's the one who made it, a force.
It's always been amazing to me that in Louisville, the powers became Trinity, St. X, the Catholic schools. Indianapolis is not that. It's the public schools, man. They dominate.
Yeah, I don't know.
With the exception of Cathedral has depending on what class they're in, of course, but yeah,
there was a bit of an anomaly a couple of years ago where the high school I went to, Bullitt East, won the 6A state title, oddly enough.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
I think that's going to happen more in the future because I think more people are moving that way.
Yeah, a lot of Louisville people are moving out this direction. How much time we got? I still got a minute.
But like in Cincinnati, the Catholic schools rule too, though, I think. Moeller and Cincinnati St. Xavier and a couple of other ones.
Who won? I can't remember. Who won the Kentucky State 6A last year? Was it the Catholic schools or was it somebody else?
Pretty sure it was Trinity with a freshman quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Trinity. And that was the first one for their new coach because Beatty retired a few years ago and this guy took over and they were getting a little impatient because he wasn't winning the way Beatty won, and then he finally won one this year.
All right, here we go, guys.
Or Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to anymorehonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville and Evansville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday, halfway through the week. I even see the sun peeking out as the rain looks to be going away. Rick Bozich joining us now. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I can't complain. It's July and it's not 1,000 degrees and just miserable. It's been an unbelievable introduction to summer, to be honest with you. Not exactly slow right now. The 3SSB tournament underway in Rock Hill, South Carolina. You've got NASCAR coming to Indianapolis in 2 weeks. There's plenty happening. Oh, and the TBT coming up in Louisville, Lexington, and Indianapolis. So we've got a lot coming our way, Rick.
Yeah, I think you'll really enjoy the TBT. I had a great time covering it last year, and it should be even better this year. Takes a while for people to kind of refocus their energy on basketball in the middle of the summer, but I think it'll be a hit and Hinkle, and hopefully they'll keep bringing it back to Indy and Lexington and Louisville every year.
Oh, absolutely. If it's not a hit and Hinkle, there's a problem when you have teams from Butler, Indiana, and Purdue playing in that. I expect it to be a great setting. What have the crowds been like in Louisville? Just out of curiosity.
The size?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they announced all three crowds were in the 5,000 to 6,000 range. Maybe 6,500 was the largest one. I think the record going into last year was in the 8,000 range, and Wichita, which has had it for a number of years, might have extended that. Wichita really gets behind it, but I would expect this year with Louisville doing it now for a second time. They've enhanced the team by adding Montrezl Harrell on this team, and they got a Bellarmine team, and they're going to play each other in the first game on a Saturday afternoon. That they could get a larger crowd this year.
Yeah, I don't know numbers wise what I expect at Hinkle, but I'm thinking it'll be a little better than that, partly because it's located in a great place as far as drawing IU fans, Purdue fans, Butler fans. So that should provide a wealthy boost. And one of the other teams is actually owned by Kyle Guy, the team that plays against Butler, Fail Harder. We found that out when Kyle was with us last week. So it's enough. They've done a perfect job of mixing it in. And I know when I was talking to Kyle, I said, man, they should have the finals here. And he said, yeah, he agrees. And he's talking to him. So Kyle's talking to him about that. I think that would be cool to have that. But you just need to have success with one or more of these teams. But does having all of those teams in one region hurt them a little bit? I wonder if it would be better if, and I know geographically Butler or Indiana or Purdue, neither would want to go to whether it's Dayton or Louisville. But I wonder if it's best to have them all together or to spread them out a little bit.
I think it's better to have them together because easier for fans to go follow their team. I mean, if you're not going to get many Purdue fans to drive down and watch a TB team in Louisville, whereas they might go to Hinkle, or you're not going to get Louisville fans to drive up to Hinkle to watch Louisville players play there, but they will go to Freedom Hall. And I think, you got to remember there's expenses involved too. And a lot of the guys that play on some of these teams actually live or at least can stay somewhere in the summer where, they're not going to have to I don't even know how they do it. I think these teams get sponsors or something to help defray some of the costs, or they do fundraisers or whatever. But there are costs involved with these guys coming and staying in town for a week and eating and all the other, expenses that are involved with having a team.
Well, Indiana's TV team, Assembly Ball, which great name, very cool name. I know that they have some type of agreement with Hoosiers Connect, Indiana, one of Indiana's arm of their official collective. So I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but they've got a connection there. See if I can pull that up. But I know what it is. They're working. You can sit on the bench with these guys. So that would be a pretty cool deal. They're doing, and I think that they're doing a lot of these things to now be able to take over and make up for things that were quote unquote taken away, I guess you'd say, from what was going on previously, which I didn't understand why they were not doing all that kind of stuff anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I know at Louisville, one of the things is that Russ Smith, one of the stars of their 2013 team, he has his own line of bourbon called Mr. and Mrs. And he's a sponsor. And I think after some games, he has tasting events where fans can stay and pay extra and get autographed bottles and taste different samples of his bourbon. So yeah, they try and do a good job of marketing with all these things. And I think what you'll also find is, if Indiana and Purdue win the first game, then it'll be on the news and it'll be on the web and there'll be clips of, somebody making a block or a dunk on Twitter, and more people get excited and more people show up for the second game, and they win the second game. Then there's more hype and get people, it kind of builds on its own because something will happen in the game. And the great thing, and I know I talked about this last week, but it's not the same basketball as you normally get. It has the Elam ending, which is whatever the score is the first time there's a stoppage of play under the 4-minute mark. Let's say you're beating me 60-50. The first team that gets to 8 points more than the score that's ahead wins. So 68 is the target score. So as soon as you or I get to 68 or 69 or whatever, we win the game. So there's a game-winning shot in every game. And that, I think fans like that.
Yeah, it's unique. As a matter of fact, over the weekend I was watching. It was a rerun or a recorded version of it, but I was watching the NASCAR street race in Chicago, and they had a delay. And because of that, and being a street race, there's no lights, street lights don't count. They had to set a clock of the last of when a car crossed the finish line at a specific time, which happened to be 8:20 Central Time. That would be the last official lap. The next lap would be the white flag, and then the next lap would be the checkered flag. And immediately I'm like, man, they got the Elam ending in NASCAR now, because they were racing a timeline at that point and not laps, which was wild. But it's a cool thing. It's different. The players get into it. $1 million, man. Everybody's going for $1 million, and so they're definitely playing hard. And I mentioned the Hoosiers Connect connection. Yeah, you can make a donation, and they have different prizes. One of them is to sit on the bench with a guest for their first game coming up on July 19th. You can go into the locker room. You get a game jersey, photo opportunities, Hoosiers Connect merchandise, and an IU basketball team signed ball. That's just the first prize stuff. So yeah, they've got entries as low as $10. So they're trying to incorporate. That's a great way to incorporate this TBT program with their NIL options. So Indiana is really expanding what they're doing as far as experiences for fans.
Yeah, I know one thing that also happened last year is like when they played, most of the players on the Louisville team showed up to watch the games. The coaching staff showed up to watch the games. Darrell Griffith showed up to watch the games. Rajon Rondo was here to watch the games. So people in the community who are basketball people kind of got behind it. So I don't know if that'll happen in Indy, that, former IU players that live in the area will show up and watch, or whether Mike Woodson will go up, or whether players on the current team will go up and watch. But I thought that gave it more, credibility and juice in the local area.
Well, just being in Indianapolis alone will lend itself to who knows who's going to show up. You've got Indianapolis Colts players, Pacers players.
Right.
They could possibly get the support of all kinds of guys. Gordon Haywood, if he's in town, who knows how that works. But I am really looking forward to that. Unfortunately, I wish, it'll be over. So, yeah, you want to talk about, we've got the 3SSB going on right now that will run through Sunday. Next week, the TBT starts. The weekend after that, you've got NASCAR in Indianapolis. So July is just another busy month. It does not stop. And then we turn to August, and the college football camp, in addition to the NFL, will be opening up as well.
Yeah, Louisville actually starts practice on July 29th, so they're only, less than 3 weeks away from getting going. So yeah, it's not going to be long till things are ramping back up. And I saw this has been big week. Indiana's gotten 3 football commitments?
At least it seems like there's one every day, Rick.
3 kids from Ohio. They're not getting the Indiana kids; they're getting Ohio kids. So.
Yeah, they're getting some Indiana kids, and I've talked about that. As a matter of fact, I was talking about it in a different manner with Kyle Neddenriep a moment ago, but that was the highest ranked. Of the higher ranked kids, they're not getting those yet, but neither is Purdue, although I think they got maybe one of those. Those guys are still going out of state.
Right.
And
they have.
Always
for 2 years.
Yes, always has. And that's going to be the difference maker, is when Indiana is able to make a dent there. And I think that can easily happen, but that comes with one simple thing: success. Success, I say it all the time, winning cures everything. And they have an opportunity with the schedule that is laid out before them to maybe have a better season than where they actually are right now, just because of how the schedule is set up with 8 home games, incredibly, and road games against a UCLA team that is, new coach, new everything. Northwestern playing on a soccer field. Michigan State, which is new coach, and then at Ohio State. But the other three, new coaches all three of those road games are against programs with a new coach. And 5 out of their 9 conference games are against teams with a new coach. So it's a weird schedule, Rick.
Yeah, on the recruiting thing, I go back when I first started covering IU football. Coach Corso was the coach, and people nowadays know him from the College Game Day show and how good he was. But but back then he was just a ball of energy, and he's so positive and so funny and so charismatic and so dynamic. And when he came to IU, I mean, he was very aggressive and very ambitious in recruiting. And I can remember early on, there was a linebacker from Elkhart by the name of Rich Wingo, and he recruited him, and he went to Alabama. And then there was Blair Keel, was a quarterback at Columbus, and he recruited the heck out of him. He got to the final 2, and he went to Notre Dame. There was Vegas Ferguson, who was a running back from Richmond, and he got in the final 2, and he went to Notre Dame. So this has been going on forever.
Gunnar Keel, the son of Pat, or it was Blair's brother's son, his nephew.
Blair's brother's son, yeah.
He's either Pat or Kip Keel, but
Kip. It was Kip.
He was actually, didn't he commit to Indiana along with
he committed to Indiana. He committed to Kevin Wilson, and then he decommitted, and then he ended up at Notre Dame and then went to Cincinnati. But anyway, it's tough. I mean, Mallory got Anthony Thompson out of Terre Haute. He got Vaughn Dunbar out of Fort Wayne. He got, was it Dave Schnell was a quarterback from up in northern Indiana? Huh?
Yes, Dave was great too.
Yeah, he got some of those guys.
Van Waiters, some of the defensive players they had some high-end defensive players as well.
Yeah, you just got to get a few. You're not going to get – I mean, the top guys are probably always going to go to Notre Dame, Ohio State. You guys were talking about LSU coming in and get a guy. I'm sure that goes back to Brian Kelly having, roots in Indiana and connections in Indiana to help him get a guy out of Indianapolis. So,
Kevin Peoples is the defensive line coach at LSU now, former defensive line coach at Indiana under Tom Allen.
Well, you got to get in there and slug it out with them and maybe get one every other year of the really top guys. But what you got to stop is, you got to stop places like Iowa coming in and getting players, because they have gotten guys, and you can't let Minnesota come in and get guys, or Illinois, or Kentucky, or whatever. You got to stop that for the most part.
I am not familiar with what Mike Gundy said yesterday. Did you see?
Ridiculous.
So what was the comment that I missed?
He was at Big Ten Media Day, and Oklahoma State had a player arrested, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, for DWI. And he basically said, well, he might have had, I thought about what he tested, blood positive, and that's probably, 3 or 4 beers. I mean, I've probably done that 1,000 times, and, I didn't get caught. And so I'm just lucky. And he was just too cavalier and shrugging it off like, he did what a lot of people do, is they drink 3 or 4 beers and get in the car and drive. And if you got to watch the clip, I thought it was a very bad look for Mike Gundy.
I don't need to. I can already tell you right now, just from the description, man, you can't do that. He
said like he wasn't going to miss any games. That wasn't going to be part of the punishment. That he brought him to Big 12 Media Day, so he'd have to answer all the questions about it, and then it was going to be over. And then if he was going to punish him, what he might do is make him carry the ball 50 times in one game or something. It was like it was just.
This is like 1930, straight out of 1930s, man.
I can't believe the Oklahoma State University president was pleased by that performance.
I'm sure he wasn't, and I'm sure that that'll probably come out. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com with us right now here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
What's new with you or coming up?
Nothing extraordinary. Just Dennis Lampley thing right now. I'm working on a story about a minor league baseball player in the Reds system, but not sure how many people in Bloomington or Indianapolis or wherever all your listeners are, Evansville, are interested.
Man, how about the Reds? The Reds seem like that they are just kicking butt, and yet they're mired 9 games back of first place.
Well, they swept the Yankees, and then they got swept by the Tigers. Is that right?
Oh, my God. I'm glad I didn't know that. Kyle Neddenriep's a big Tigers fan.
They at least lost 2 out of 3 to the Tigers. It might have been all 3. I don't know.
And then they've got the new guy that is just crushing home runs. They've got Eli De La Cruz. So obviously they've got some young, great talent that they're probably going to end up selling.
I don't know. What Indiana got 3 kids from Ohio, right? 1 linebacker, 1 defensive back, and 1 offensive lineman. Did Purdue get a good linebacker recruit from Ohio too? I thought I read earlier in the week they got a good linebacker out of Ohio.
Yeah, let's see. Indiana got the offensive lineman yesterday for and there was a DB, and they just flipped a linebacker
from Cincinnati. Right.
Who was
Trace Jackson Davis played on the U.S. select team.
And he's from Cincinnati.
He's from Cincinnati, as is the defensive back they got earlier in the week. So, I mean, Cincinnati's a good place to get players from.
Well, yeah, that's pretty good flip too. Yeah, they lost. They lost that kid right now so far to Jeff Brom in Louisville, the linebacker Burris.
Right.
Tyrone Burris. I was
Is he a linebacker or a defensive lineman?
I think he's a DL, but I was a little surprised by that. But I'm sure that that's not over yet.
Right. Well, Mark Hagan's,
here we go, guys.
Mark Hagan's recruiting for Louisville. He's a good recruiter.
And everything you need to make a gourmet meal at home. Or pick out a tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. You made it to the halfway point, brought to you by the Ugly Grouper. That's down on Santa Maria Island, Florida. Whether you're heading out on vacation down that way or already down there, stop into the Ugly Grouper. They have incredible food each and every day, locally sourced seafood, your favorite cocktails, and craft beers, and live music every day. Just go to theuglygrouper.com. Great place to travel to. Rick Bozich, WDRB.com with us. And Rick, you cover Indiana, Kentucky, Louisville, anything of importance in that region. And these teams have not really fought each other a lot for recruits in football, partly because all 3 of them, and you can throw Purdue into that, are all in about the same category in their conferences. Of course, in the Big Ten and the SEC and ACC, but Louisville would probably have a higher elevation in the ACC, but that can be said of, at least I think, the ACC is not nearly as strong as the other 2. But these programs are all about the same place. Louisville looks a little bit better, I think. But this year is going to be a telling season for all of them. Louisville in an ACC conference that is kind of, I don't want to say it's teetering, but it's definitely undergoing some earthquakes right now with what is going on between Clemson and Florida State, trying to break the lock of being locked into a conference, not making the money that places like the SEC and Big Ten can make. Indiana and Purdue, for that matter, are going to have to elevate their programs to stay relevant in a growing conference and a sport that is increasingly more important. And I would assume that is the same for Kentucky and the SEC.
Yeah, I think Louisville had a great year last year. They played in the ACC championship game in Jeff Brom's first year and lost a lot of players from that team, but they were very active in the portal, and I think they've actually got better talent this year than they did last year. The schedule will be a little bit harder. They got to play at Notre Dame, at Clemson, and at Kentucky. So those are 3 tough road games for them. Kentucky is picked in a couple of the computer rankings in the top 25 in the country going into the season. They've got a really good defense. They're unproven at quarterback. They got 2 new guys. One is was the backup at Georgia. The other was the kid who started the last 2 or 3 years at Rutgers, Gavin Wimsatt. Decent runner, not a great passer. He beat IU a couple of times. And the SEC is the best league. I know that Michigan won the championship last year, but the SEC overall is year in, year out the best league in football. And they have a hard time maintaining their place. I think they got a little bit of a benefit. They've gone away from division play, but the downside is that Texas comes on their schedule this year, and Texas is top 5 in the country. Indiana, on the flip side, benefits because they went away from division play, which put them at such a huge disadvantage over the last, 8 or 10 years, however long it was, when we went from legends and leaders to East and West. So they need to take advantage of that, and this is the year they can take advantage of it. It's the most important thing IU's done is they scheduled as best they could 3 non-conference wins. Got to do that. Until you get your program established, you got to schedule 3 non-conference wins. So then if you can win 3 conference games, you can get to 6 and you can go to a bowl game, and then you improve it from there. And the second thing is they have 8 home games overall. And as we've talked about before, a number of the teams they're playing this year also have first-year coaches or second-year coaches. You're not, other than Ohio State and Michigan, there's not anybody on the schedule you say, man, they got no chance against that team. I know Washington was really good last year, but their team got decimated, and they have a whole new coaching staff, and that game's in Bloomington. So I don't feel like that game is out of reach. The UCLA game is out there, but their program had a lot of transfers and has a guy who's never been a head coach anywhere, as opposed to Cignetti. So, I'm not saying Indiana's going to win in the Rose Bowl, but as we've also talked about, they don't draw. There probably won't be 35,000 people at that game. So it's not like you're going in to play at Penn State or you're going in to play at Michigan or whatever. You're playing at a place where you have a chance to win. So it's just going to be a matter of whether they can take advantage of some of the advantages they have this year on the schedule and get off to a good start. And as you sense and I sense is that what Cignetti has done so far is he's raised interest. More people are talking about IU football. I think more people are interested in going to the games and see what he has to offer. More recruits are looking at IU football. They're in. This quarterback from the 2025 class, the one who's committed to USC, hasn't he posted stuff on social media this week with him wearing an IU shirt? There are people that think Indiana actually has a chance to get this kid.
Well, Indiana does.
Yeah, I know. That's unthinkable under Tom Allen or.
Oh, it's crazy.
Kevin
as
Wilson,
a matter of fact, I've been told that it's down to Indiana and Auburn.
Okay.
It's now whether that's true or not.
So when was the last time Indiana was in on a 4 or 5 star quarterback?
Indiana has never had a 4-star, but they never had a guy like that visit. Period. That's crazy. He was number 1 in the 2026 class. Then he reclassified to 25,
Right.
which dropped him a little bit. But even when he visited, he was number one in the 2026 class. Indiana
Right.
football has never had a number one ranked player visit them, much less a number one ranked quarterback. I don't think Indiana basketball has had a number one ranked recruit visit. I'm not saying that they haven't gotten great recruits over the years, obviously, because the recruiting services weren't around when
Eric Gordon might have been. He was close. I don't know if he was number one. Michael Beasley might have been number one in that class, but Eric Gordon was close to a number one. But yeah, and the value of that is, even if you don't get him, you create buzz in the recruiting world. And if you do get him, that's the kind of guy. Then you go to a receiver and say, "We just got the best quarterback in the class. Wouldn't you want to play with him?" Or, other recruits. That's they're doing all the right things. They're pushing all the right buttons so far. And what's next is the most important thing: making a good first impression, winning those first two home games, going out to UCLA and upsetting UCLA or playing them a really tough competitive game. And keep building on that, because then after you play UCLA, you come home, get a bigger crowd at Memorial Stadium. I'm sure that's part of the plan.
Well, a big part of it to me is Coach Kurt Cignetti's staff. He's got an OC that has been with him for 9 years. This is not a coach that is switching OCs every 2 years. That is having a quarterback race 6 games into your season. In the middle of the year, that stuff is just absolutely bewildering, but it shows I don't want to use the word incompetence, but it shows the complete disarray of having control of your team and knowing your personnel, like what happened with Indiana last year. I mean, they're halfway through the season and they make a change at OC, and then so now you're having a quarterback's race again? That was just nuts. They finally did what they should have done at the beginning of the season, but that just shows not having control and command of the team from the top down, and that is no longer the case.
I mean, Tom Allen's a great man. He did a lot of great things at IU, but
absolutely,
I think he had a blind spot, and he was loyal to some of his guys who was on his coaching staff. And when it was obvious to a lot of people that they weren't the right guys, whether it was first with Darren Hiller on the offensive line, or then it was Walt Bell at offensive coordinator, he was too slow to respond. And in today's era, it's not the way it used to be 20 years ago, where you can, I got time, I'll figure it out. It doesn't work that way anymore. And maybe because he knew of how much money he had remaining on his contract, he felt like he didn't have to respond, but change was made, and Cignetti's got his guys, and I don't think he'll be that way.
Khalil Ware, Zach Edey, both getting action this week at the NBA Summer League as it has taken off. Khalil Ware with an exceptional game with 26 points, 11, 12 boards, whatever he had. So great start for him.
Yeah. Khalil Ware has NBA skills. He has the modern attributes of an NBA center, because he can step outside and shoot the ball, and he looks like a guy who can make them. It's not like a guy going out there hoping he can make them. He's a guy who steps out there and is comfortable and believes he can make them. And what he needs is just to get mature physically and mentally, get stronger and adjust to the physicality and the speed of the game. And he's got the tools to he should be able to play in the league for, 8, 10, 12 years with the natural skills that he has. And again, it's a thing that if you're Mike Woodson, you can go to people and say, Trace Jackson Davis wasn't going to be drafted. He stayed and played for me 2 years. And last year, he's one of the top 10 rookies in the NBA. Khalil Ware was considered on his way to being a bust. He came and played for me 1 year, and he got drafted, one pick out of the lottery. And, he's going to be in the NBA. That should be a significant card for Mike Woodson to play in recruiting with big men. It should be. We'll see what he does with Ballo this year, who has a different kind of skill set. He's more of an inside guy instead of an outside guy like Ware was. But it should be a card for Mike Woodson to play, and I would play it loudly and relentlessly.
Absolutely, and he's going to have to start doing that at other positions, though, with guys like Mackenzie Mbako and Rice Carlisle, those kind of guys.
Sam Vecini came out with his first mock draft in the Athletic this morning for 2025, and he's got Mbako as a top 20 pick, I think. Yeah,
and I think Carlisle was also in someone's mock drafts as well. So
he wasn't the Athletic, but he was. Yeah, I saw he was on another one.
What's up next for you, Rick?
As I mentioned to you, off air, I think that I'm working on a tribute column to Dennis Lampley. People in the Louisville area, and he was the high school football coach at Trinity High School, won 5 state titles, and was a very big mentor for Jeff and Greg Brom, who are the Louisville, coaches now, and just writing about him and getting ready for TBT stuff next week. As you mentioned, we got teams here at Louisville and Bellarmine, and they play in the first game, so that'll be fun.
Absolutely. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Look forward to next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You betcha. That's going to put a wrapper on it for us today. I hope Dylan Sin is having a good honeymoon over in Scotland. Thanks to Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Make sure you're giving him and Rick Bozich a follow. John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. Most importantly, each and every one of you. We're back tomorrow to do this all again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports